Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me today in a new video. It's been a while again. I've been offline for a while, but I'm back and I have some new work to show you, some new drawings. And today I'm going to be working on a butterfly with pastels. I also have a new colored pencil portrait finished, so I will do some videos about that one as well. But for now, onto the butterfly. So I photographed this butterfly at the zoo a while ago and I really liked the photo, so I decided to use it for a tutorial. The real-time version of this video with narration is available on Patreon, so if you're interested in that, feel free to have a look there. The link is in the description. And in this sped up version, I'm just going to walk you through what I did and the materials. So I'm working on pastel matte as always. This is the light blue version, which is actually a really nice base tone to work on. The size is about 8 by 10 inches, and then I'm working with Faber-Castell soft pastels, Stabilo pastel pencils and Faber-Castell pastel pencils. A few of them, mainly the Stabilo ones, I like those the best. So I just started out with sketching the outlines. The outlines for this one weren't that difficult, so I drew the outline directly on the pastel mat with a pastel pencil. I always like to pick a very light gray or a light beige to do the sketch with, instead of white, because it's a little less opaque. This light beige tone, that's number 700. So I did the sketch with that. And then after doing this sketch, I went right on with the coloring. When I do the sketch, a freehand sketch directly on pastel matte, I try to not erase anything. So I just roughly sketch, and every line that I don't want, I just cover with the colors later on. So for the background, I used the pastel pencils and the soft pastels. So I figured that the soft pastels weren't really matching when it comes to the colors, and so I started with the soft pastels, but later on I switched to the pastel pencils because those were a bit better matching with the colors that I wanted for the background. So I'm working from left to right, and as you can see, I have a little piece of paper underneath my hand to prevent any smudging. The background is quite blurry, so I keep it very rough but nicely blended. There are multiple greens in the background and also a bit of gray. So I keep combining the soft pastels with the pastel pencils to create the right tone. And at the start it might look a bit weird, but as soon as I start with the butterfly, you can actually start to see the perspective and the depth in the drawing. And by the way, if you are on Patreon for the $4 tier, you also get the reference, so you can just download that and use it as a reference as well for this tutorial. So I'm combining more yellow toned greens with cooler toned greens, more bluish tones, to get some nice contrast and value in the background. And I finished the whole background first before moving on to the leaf and the butterfly. So I'm not being very tidy here, as you can see. I'm just scribbling, building up the layers like that. I wanted to do this drawing quite quickly, so in the end it took about 2 hours, I think, to make, which is not very long. So here you can see that I'm layering gray on top of green to tone down the vibrancy of the green. I wanted the background to be a little bit less opaque, less vibrant, and I wanted the butterfly to be super vibrant to create that nice contrast between foreground and background. With pastels you can pretty easily mix colors to create new tones, so that works really nicely. Then after layering the colors on top of each other, I blend with my finger. And then I just keep on layering until I get the effect that I want. Alright, almost done with the background. Just doing some final touches here and there. I did have some trouble with this specific piece of pastel matte. The layers didn't really stick to it very well. And this is the first time that I have used the light blue version. Usually I work on light gray or dark gray or brown, and I never have any problems with those, but with this one the layers didn't really want to stick, so that was a bit of a bummer. But I've been able to correct that in the end. Alright, then onto the leaf, which is a lot more vibrant looking than the colors in the background. So I started off with multiple tones of green from the Stabilo Carbothello line. All the vibrant greens, number 570, 575 and then 585. And then I added some yellow on top. The yellow adds some nice depth in the color of the leaf. Then on the reference there's a shadow that the butterfly is creating. Shadow on the leaf, so I'm creating that as well with the greens from Stabilo. And then after that I'm adding some veins on the leaf. First with very light beige and then some darker green. And then I corrected the shape of the leaf a little bit. And after that it was time to move on to the butterfly, my favorite part of this drawing. So I started out with outlining the wings with a very dark brown. So I chose brown instead of black because black alone will look a little bit flat. So I started out with brown and I saved the black for the very end for the darkest little pieces. So I mapped out all the dark shapes that I saw in the butterfly, the eye, the shapes on the body, and then also the darker markings on the wings, still with that same brown. And it's very important to keep the pencil very sharp. So for that I used the Faber-Castell Color Grip manual sharpener. It's just a very simple hand sharpener with three different holes, so the pencils fit in it very nicely. I really like that one for pastel pencils. So as you can see, I'm just freehanding all those shapes in there just to map it out. And then later on I'm adding all the details and correcting the shapes. And I'm not filling up the whole tooth of the paper just yet. So I'm working with quite a light hand, so I can add a lot more colors on top of that brown. Then I'm mapping out the lighter markings on the wings, doing that with light yellow beige number 105 if I'm right. And then the rest of the wings are super nice and colorful. Orange and red you can see in there, and a bit of yellow. So I'm filling in the rest of the wings now. Varying a bit between orange, yellow and red. And then for the lighter dots on the bottom part of the wing I'm using blue and a little bit of purple, and that gives the wings so much more depth instead of just using white for the white spots. So now that all the base colors and base shapes are in there, it was time to move on to darkening up the darker shapes, again with that brown, adding some of the veins and the details on the wings. And I'm still working with a light hand, so I'm not pushing hard at all. I just let the pencils do the work. And then I'm taking a brighter orange to lighten up the wings. And I'm carefully working from dark to light that way. So I started off with the dark red as a base tone for the vibrant parts of the wings, and then I'm adding lighter oranges and yellows on top to create the details and the highlights. actually this was the first time that I've ever drawn a butterfly, I believe. Yes, it is. And I really enjoyed it. Let me know if you want me to do more butterflies or more insects. Insects are actually very interesting to draw because they usually have so many different colors in them. So I should do more insects. Then to get some more depth in the darker shapes on the wing, I added dark blue. So no black yet, just blue. Also darkening up the paws with that. And I'm also adding some green on the body because the body is reflecting some of the colors from the background. And that's often the case. So really learn to see all the colors in a photo and try to apply that to the drawing. Then I'm filling in the tail area real quick. And then it was time to move on to the final details and add some black. So you can see that it really gives a nice contrast. And then for the feelers, I started off with the dark red. Then at the end they were a lot lighter, more yellow toned. So I went on with light yellow beige. And then this drawing was finished after some final touches on the background because the layers really didn't stick to it that well. So I went over again with some of the pastel colors, the soft pastel colors. And after that, this drawing was finished after 2 hours. So I really like this relatively quick project. And I hope you like it too. So let me know what you think of this drawing in the comments below. And suggestions for new drawings are always welcome. If you're interested in supporting my work, following my real-time tutorials, you can have a look on Patreon. I would really appreciate it. And then I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day.